sensations as I turn my head.
Well, believe it or not, that's actor-comedian Ricky Gervais in 1983 in the British pop duo Sanoa Dancing. Not a successful band, but they were very popular in the Philippines. Now, Ricky's gone on to be a very successful comedian and actor. So why are we going to evaluate an interview with Ricky Gervais and Richard Dawkins? Neither are philosophers, so are way off on so many things they say about God. So why bother? Well, the answer is, when a video on YouTube or elsewhere goes viral, it obviously influences the culture. And perhaps we should offer some perspective to as many as we can who may be misled by it, and to help our regular listeners of the Reasonable Faith podcast to graciously interact with the things that so penetrate culture. And if you think about it, many of these videos go viral or popular because they have a certain common sense appeal or rhetorical or technical power. So it's good to unpack what is being said, and that's what I've asked Dr. Craig to do today with the video that features Dr. Richard Dawkins interviewing Ricky Gervais. So we'll take it a segment at a time and pause to hear from Dr. Craig on certain points, and here's the first of that interview.
Some people would say that the scientific view is rather bleak and cold. Here we are on a cloud on a bit of dust, really orbiting the sun, and it's all going to be destroyed one day. Do you find it bleak?
There's no God-fearing person of any religion who feels as much awe as me when I see a mountain or a tree.
Or the stars.
Or anything in science and nature and art. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. The fact that this is a miraculous mistake,
and you and I are privileged to be here to enjoy it, even if for a short time. That's a wonderful thought.
Yeah, it's good that we were born after they discovered fossils of dinosaurs, isn't it?
Good that we were born at all, but yes.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. What would that have been like?
Nothing.
what would you be like if you were pre-Darwin?
I would probably believe in God if I were pre-Darwin.
Well, this is the other thing that sometimes I say to Christians, why do you believe in that God? And they say, well, it's the only God to believe in. I went, but if you were born in Delhi, you wouldn't believe in that God, probably. If you were born in ancient Rome, you certainly wouldn't believe in that God.
Yes, you believe in the God of your parents and your grandparents. Most people do.
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's conversions, and there are many people that seek one. And they window shop. They go, what can you do for me? What do I have to do? Forget it. What do you do? I can still smoke and drink? I'll have that one. Of course, yeah.
There are people who say, well, I was on a quest and I tried Buddhism and it was all right, but I thought maybe I'd try again, so I tried Hinduism.
I know, yeah. Well, which one spoke to you?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
This is interesting because Gervais unknowingly makes a point that undermined Dawkins' own assertion. He asks Dawkins, what would you believe if you lived prior to Darwin? And Dawkins says, I would be a theist. And then Gervais comes back by saying, well, if you had been born in New Delhi, you wouldn't believe in God. If you had been born in some ancient place, you would have had different beliefs than the ones you do have, implying that therefore one's present beliefs are invalid and false because if you'd been born someplace else, you would have had different beliefs. Well, what that suggests is that Dawkins' own atheism, his own beliefs, are just the product of his being born in this time and place. And if he had been born someplace else, he would have had quite different beliefs. So this is the kind of double-edged sword that the genetic fallacy gets you into, trying to invalidate a person's beliefs by showing how he came to hold them is a fallacy. And so pointing out that you would have held different beliefs if you had born in a different time and place in history does absolutely nothing to invalidate the truth of the beliefs that you do have. And if they do, then it invalidates Dawkins' own beliefs.
And Bill, they started the video off talking about the beauty of the trees and the stars. And Ricky says, I have just as much appreciation and am just as awed by that as any God believer. God-believing person. Well, what's the point they're trying to make there?
The point was supposed to be that the world mediated to us by modern science is not bleak. But I don't think that refutes the claim. When we talk about the bleakness of the world that is described solely by science, what one means is that this is a world which exists to no purpose. It will ultimately end in the heat death of the universe as the universe expands into a cold, lifeless, dark, and dilute condition from which it will never reemerge. It puts a question mark behind the entire edifice of human civilization and accomplishment. All of the things that Gervais mentions as noble and good about humanity are all doomed to destruction in the heat death of the universe. And that's the bleakness of the worldview of scientific naturalism. Has nothing to do with the fact that one can appreciate the beauty of a mountainside or art or music or something of that sort.
Let's continue.
It should be irrelevant, but it isn't, because it does infringe on people's liberties. Certainly religion, not spirituality. You know, someone believing in God, that's fine.
Harmless.
Absolutely, doesn't bother me at all. Religion isn't harmless. It's when your God starts telling you that you should kill homosexuals, and
Exactly.
That's when it's not harmless anymore.
Well, now Dawkins himself has affirmed that we're just animated chunks of matter. So his own view is this demeaning view that we are just a bag of chemicals on bones. Why is that troubling? Well, because it means that we're not rational, free agents. We're just determined. There is no free will. There is no ability to reason rationally. We're just determined in everything that we do by our genetic makeup and the stimuli that we receive through our senses. And that is indeed discouraging, I think. As Dawkins says in the God Delusion, there's no good, there's no evil, there's just pitiless indifference. We are machines for propagating DNA, and there isn't anything more to our existence than that. So I think that is a very depressing view of human existence.
What'd you think about what they said about, believing in God and be spiritual, that's harmless? Dawkins hadn't treated it like it's very harmless. He's really gone after theism. But they said, but religion is not harmless. Religion can cause great pain. I don't know anybody who would disagree with that. I mean, obviously,
I know,
the
so much
abuse...
of this interview is just banalities, Kevin. I don't even find it interesting. It's just banal talking about these silly truisms that religion can be misused for great atrocities. Well, same thing is true of atheism. I mean, look at Stalin, look at Mao. Goodness sake, the atrocities perpetrated in the name of atheism make atrocities in the name of religion pale by significance. So this is uninteresting.
Let's continue the video.
I was interested you said that you really objected to people being bored. You should never be bored, and I think that's right. The world is a wonderful enough place. You should never be bored. If you're bored, you're doing something wrong.
Well, you're probably ignorant in some way. I don't mean in a nasty way, but you haven't seen the possibilities. No one's pointing them out to you. Opportunity, that's very important. The place you're born. There's some places people are born into poverty with less opportunity and less things to do and see. I mean, if you're being shot at, or your firstborn has a 1 in 4 chance of not surviving the first year, you're probably not thinking of taking up macrame. So, privilege is luck to a certain extent. But then it's what you do with it. I mean, again, that's politics. I consider myself privileged, certainly.
Yes, it's a lot easier to enjoy life if you are privileged in that sort of way.
Of course,
There are some people who say that to explain existence, to explain life, to explain that we are, as they would put it rather demeaningly, a bundle of chemicals, somehow makes it makes life not worth living.
Why?
Why indeed?
I don't understand it.
No.
I mean,
it's wonderful even if you can explain it. It's even more wonderful if you can explain it.
There's a
It
magic
doesn't-
there.
Yes.
There's a magic to consciousness, introspection, free will.
And the fact that you can say that it's done by nerve impulses speeding around the brain doesn't diminish it in any way.
No, of
it's
course
still
not.
wonderful.
Of course not.
Actually, I think it's more wonderful.
I think it is because it's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it's magic does it for you. Magic goes, it's magic.
It's amazing that this conscious being, this thinking being that is me, and that thinking being that is you, is actually produced by millions of nerve impulses whizzing around inside our brain. I mean, that is a magical thought.
It's great, isn't it? We're in each other's dream.
Yes.
And even if free will is an illusion, it makes no difference. It makes no difference to us.
Bill, this is the magic show.
I know, they keep using the word magic. Now, I'm sure they're meaning this in a metaphorical sense. It's magical in the sense of wondrous, and
Yes.
they said amazing, and so forth. But it's worse than that. It really is magic that on a scientific naturalistic view of the world, you've got these transcendental selves, these consciousnesses, which Gervais thinks have free will. I'm not sure what Dawkins' view is of the self, but in any case, if it is totally dependent or supervenient upon the brain, and the direction of causal influence is totally from the brain to the consciousness, not from the mind to the brain, to the body. If the direction of causality is asymmetrical, it's just from the body to the consciousness, then again, that lands you right in determinism. And while that may be complicated and amazing in that sense, which it is, nevertheless, that completely robs human life of any sort of moral significance or I think rational decision making. It just turns you into the bag of chemicals that Dawkins was talking about earlier.
He says, though, that because this is just chemical firings in your brain and we're a bag of chemicals, that does not diminish the magic of it one bit or the wonder of it one bit. In fact, he thinks because it's all natural and there's not and God doesn't have anything to do with it, he thinks that makes it more wonderful. Well, why would he say that? I mean, that's
I think because of the complexity of it.
Yeah.
And as he said, it is amazing. I mean, the human body is absolutely astonishing. The human brain is the most complex organism in the entire universe. There is nothing more complex than that single human brain. So it is astonishing and amazing. I agree with him completely about that. But the question we're, I think, supposed to be asking is human life worth living on this sort of naturalistic view of the self and the person? And what I'm waiting to hear is something that would invest human beings with freedom of the will, rationality, moral significance, and those sorts of things don't come into the picture on scientific naturalism except by the repeated appeal to magic.
We'll continue.
I feel as though I have free will, even if I don't.
Of course, and you know, I'd say determinism is sound, but it's when they start making these leaps that then we can't be responsible for our own actions. Well, you've still got to lock someone up if they're going around murdering people to protect the innocent.
It wasn't me did the murder, my lad. It was my neurons.
Of course,
my genes.
yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, there's obviously a little bit of that creeping into everything, responsibility, being adult about things. But yeah, it doesn't change a thing. I feel that I make my own choices, and if I don't, I certainly feel like I'm choosing. So yeah, it's not even worth worrying about. But yeah, it's this thing that takes the art out of something, or the humanity, or the beauty. Why? Why does it? It's strange.
All right, what they say, I've heard this from other naturalists too. It doesn't matter if free will is an illusion because you think you have it. You're under the illusion of acting freely, and so you can do nothing else. But of course it matters enormously, because if you really don't have any free will, then you are literally deluded. You are the most pathetic of creatures to think that you have free will and are making significant choices when in fact you're not. You're just a machine, is all. And your choices have no moral significance. They are not done for rational reasons. I think they have completely stripped humanity of any sort of significance different from that of a worm. It's just a more complicated nervous system, and they don't seem to get the point.
Bill, they're reacting to what they're always being told, what's always being thrown at them, in the same way that atheists, agnostics, and so on are always said, how can you be moral without God? We've fought that. We've demonstrated that in your work has shown, well, yes, you can. You can recognize morality. In the same way, they're saying, okay, not only can we recognize and act morally without God, we can also recognize beauty and enjoy life, and we're tired of you people telling us that we can't without belief in God. You see, that's what they're reacting to. They're trying to convince the public that, yes, we can. So maybe we need to do what you're doing and not just throw in their faces, how can you guys appreciate the world and life?
Oh, but
and have
nobody
meaning?
does say that. Nobody says atheists can't appreciate music and beauty and architecture and literature. They're fighting against boogeymen of their own imagination. No intelligent Christian is making those sorts of claims. They're making the claims that I just made, that they're giving us a worldview that strips us of rationality, moral significance, and freedom, and yet they don't seem to understand the existential importance of that, because they're happy to be deluded. They're happy to operate under the illusion that you have these things.
He said, if it's an illusion, great, I'm enjoying this illusion.
Yeah, right. You know, it reminds me of what Jean-Paul Sartre, the French existentialist, said, is that people would choose inauthentic existence rather than authentic existence because they can't bear the heavy burden of freedom and really making significant choices. And I can think of nothing that more exemplifies the choice to be inauthentic than what we've just heard. Inauthentic existence, I would prefer to operate under the illusion that I have free will and am significant than face the hard facts of what my worldview implies.
Well, let's pick it up there next time on Reasonable Faith with Dr. William Lane Craig. Be sure you come back, and we'd like to invite you to partner with us. If you see the value in what we're doing, or if you personally learn from these podcasts, your donation helps us keep these resources free and reaching people all over the world with an intelligent, articulate presentation of the good news of Jesus. So any donation is a blessing, and you can donate online anytime at reasonablefaith.org. Hey, sign up for the Reasonable Faith newsletter while you're at it, and keep up with what's going on behind the scenes with Dr. Craig. Everything from upcoming debates to speaking engagements, new books and resources, and Dr. Craig's latest research projects. Believe me, it's action-packed. Go to reasonablefaith.org and sign up, and thank you for your donation. I'm Kevin Harris. We'll see you next time on Reasonable Faith with Dr. William Lane Craig.